Well, we got a lot of news today regarding the Philadelphia Eagles and what looks like Haason Reddick that really could designate where the Eagles go in free agency if he is not re-signed. Already rumors of a couple teams after him already. I think he'll have a lot more suitors, and I think the Eagles will get some good compensation for him. And a cornerback that was released from Miami that we really just don't want to take a chance on, especially at where we are at in our youth stage and where the Eagles should be going in a specific direction. And news on Jalen Hurts and why he regressed so much last year. Obviously, the A.J. Brown drama from the other day, to kind of talk about all that. So let's get straight into it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yeah, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So I want to go over some news for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, interesting enough, we're going into free agency. We're going to be going into the draft. I mean, the free agency is really important this year, okay? When it comes to, two new coordinators once again and what direction we're going to go into regarding what Vic Fangio wants and what Kellen Moore wants to add to the offense. And I think what's going to really designate what the Eagles do is going to be Haason Reddick and where he's going. I've heard the Falcons have had interest. There's been some little bit of rumors on the Baltimore Ravens adding another edge rusher. Both teams really need edge rushers badly. And unfortunately, guys, I'm sorry to say, but Reddick just doesn't fit the scheme. It's just, that's the truth. I mean, if there's plans of him being an outside linebacker and he's had double-digit sacks the last 2 years, I mean, you're just wasting money. You're throwing money down the drain if it's not a guy that Vic Fangio is going to get the most out of. What is Reddick used to at this point? He's used to lining up on the line. If you want to use him as an outside linebacker, but line him up on the line, then that's fine. If they could work that out, that's where they have to attack with some of these guys. They can't just keep them in coverage the whole time. But that unfortunately is a part of the scheme that they do make it. They need to get some athletic linebackers going forward. I think he designates a lot of different things to where the Eagles might not go after a cornerback in the first round. Because look, if Reddick is gone, Nolan Smith is not produced enough, probably will be an outside linebacker in this scheme. Probably fits a lot better at that position because he's just more athletic. Brandon Graham is a free agent. Josh Sweat is on the last year of his deal. I don't know if Josh Sweat can really play in this scheme either. You're changing the whole, not changing the whole defense. We've been running this defense the last few years, but it's just to a point now where now you actually have one of the top coaches, defensive coordinators, I should say, that runs the scheme perfectly, still can play bend, don't break, and still get the pressures on quarterbacks, which Vic Fangio did that very well, third in the league in pressures last year. Now, I don't want the Eagles to go the cheap route when it comes to cornerback. I think if Reddick is gone, what are the Eagles going to do? I think your draft changes. I don't think you draft a cornerback in the first round. I think they're going to go trenches once again because there's way too much uncertainty, especially at edge rusher. Defensive tackle is fine because you have Jordan Davis going back to nose. You have Jalen Carter, and obviously having Milton Williams that I think is going to have a bigger role this year. But when it comes to edge rusher, it's bad. At least for, you want an outside linebacker, depending on how you're going to use somebody that's either on the line or out in coverage. And I think Fangio is going to want his own guys. And I feel like you might have to get an athletic guy in the draft. The draft is entirely going to change as much as everyone thinks that cornerback might be the first round pick that we want. Bradbury is not cut yet. Slay will probably be here for another year, but you got to look for the future as well. Are the Eagles going to go out and already get a produced player? Can they hit the market at cornerback, which the Eagles haven't done that really since trading for Slay, but Slay wasn't a free agent. That was a trade. And really before that, it's been a while since we, got a cornerback out in free agency and paid a lot of money. Will they go down that trench hole again? Do you want to I mean, look, I don't want them to go down the route where they're going to sign another old ass cornerback. Xaven Howard gets released, and part of Vic Fangio's squad last year. And he, at this point, like if it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, sure. But right now, Xavier Howard is at the latter part of his career, and I wouldn't put money into an older vet like him. I know Eagle fans have been talking about him. I don't get why. It's a cheaper option, no doubt. But I mean, we're at a Super Bowl open window right now to where we need somebody at that. You got to find your number one guy at this point. You're either going to draft one in the first round or pay one at this point. And I feel like Xavier Howard is going to be a total waste of time, money, and he's just got too much. You don't want two aging cornerbacks. Two starting aging cornerbacks. Well, Slay and now getting Xavier Howard, it's probably not going to be any better. Yeah, probably better than Bradbury. Anybody's probably a bigger upgrade than Bradbury. And yes, Xavier Howard knows the scheme, and I get it. I completely get it. And he didn't have a fantastic. I thought he had a pretty good year last year, but you start to see he gets burned a little bit. There's a decline there a little bit. He's starting to go down statistically a little bit. I just wouldn't put too much into him. So if the Eagles are going to go somewhere, then yeah, maybe they change direction. Maybe they go trade for Marlon Humphrey, that's 27, 28 years old, maybe for maybe have 2 years on his contract, something like that. Maybe make a trade like that if that's what you want to do. But yeah, I would be shocked if they went after L'Jarius Sneed. I would be shocked if they went after Jaylen Johnson, which they're going to get a lot of money. It's really hard for me because I would love for them to go after one of these guys. Like, I would love it, but the Eagles have so many holes on defense right now. I just, like, if they were like a cornerback away and maybe one other position, I feel like they could make a move like this, but it's really hard for me to say that Fangio is going to be like, man, I want to go after one of the top free agent corners. I think this guy is going to fit here with this scheme, and that's a money pit you're going to have to go down. So the money you can get back from Bayard, $14 million. If Haason Reddick leaves, you get 11 to 16 back. A post-June cut for Avonte Max is 7.1. A restructure for Goddard's 2.5. Jake Elliott 1.8. I mean, it goes on and on. The Eagles, and now the Eagles cap just went up a little bit more from 28 to 32. Because the league getting 255, which is great. And especially team per team, which is amazing. So the cap goes up a little bit, but do you want to put all of that into one position? Because these guys are going to get paid, but at the other end of the stick, do I want to get a mid-tier guy that gets paid a little bit less, but could still be a number 2 to Slay in this scheme, in this Vic Fangio bend don't break scheme? I mean, which direction do they go? I think, like I said, if Reddick stays, I feel like there's a bigger chance they might go in the first round and get a cornerback. But if Reddick leaves, that's just another hole for the Philadelphia Eagles, as well as safety, linebacker, because both of those positions are entirely empty. And let's face it, guys, like, cornerback has some guys there. Are there starting quality there yet? No. Eli Ricks needs another year, obviously. Keely Ringo hopefully takes another step up. Had some starting experience this past year. You have Isaiah Rodgers coming into the mix now. So there's a lot of, I think, quality depth that's not promised yet, but something we'll look at when we get to the offseason program. But if Reddick is gone, yeah, it's hard for me to say that they'll pay a cornerback that much money, or they'll go lower on the totem pole a little bit and sign a guy that's a little bit older, not in his 30s yet, but someone between 27 to 30 that could, help the team out for a couple years on a little deal extension or something like that as the number 2. I would love to produce a guy, from the draft and have him here for 5 years. It'd be great. I mean, it would just be easier that way. But I think when it comes down to it, it's going to really result in where Reddick goes, because if Reddick leaves, it's a big hole at defensive end. I don't care what you say. You only have Josh Sweat. That's it. Nolan Smith has not promised us anything so far. Not his fault. Because you've had good players here that have done good things in this scheme that has worked out at times and hasn't worked out at times, Vic Fangio might not get the best out of Haason Reddick on a big extension at the, as an outside linebacker. It's just, that's why this whole thing sucks, because it totally changed. It takes players out of position. Really, it might make the team weaker because of it. So are you going to put a lot of money into guys that are going to be doing something entirely different? And that's one of the big problems I'm going to have. So if that makes any sense, because losing Reddick is going to create a whole nother problem. Defense, the money has got to get poured into. Offensively, a running back, a wide receiver 3, some depth at offensive line. If Kelsey's retiring, whatever, not a big deal. But this shit on our defense right now, it's just, man, it's. And I know it's going to look good. By the time training camp starts, I know we're gonna be like, man, how did Howie do all this? I know Vic Fangio's gonna get his guys. We have to be very patient. We might have to sacrifice Haason Reddick leaving, getting big chunk of cap space, and then Vic Fangio's gonna fill in his scheme guys. And I think because it's gonna work out so much, and hopefully Vic Fangio becomes an excellent defensive coordinator here and is here for a long time. And we'll have this continued process and hit on these draft picks and bring in the guys that he wants. So there could be a big sacrifice here. I know it's really tough to get rid of a guy that has had double-digit sacks the last couple years. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. But sacrifices have to be made for the greater good of Vic Fangio and his scheme and the guys that he's going to be bringing in. So, if I'm getting rid of Haason Reddick, I'm not signing another defensive end to lower money unless it's a guy that fits Vic Fangio's scheme, or it's somebody else that's more athletic than Haason Reddick, that's not just a pure edge rusher that doesn't fit the scheme. So I'm saying his money is not going to designate him to where he plays his best. And with this scheme, it's going to we're going to be overpaying a guy that's just in coverage, that's not getting statistics. So that's where I'm at, where cornerback might not be the number 1 overall, in the draft, in the first round. With Reddick probably on the way out. And they can get really good compensation. I don't care if he's turning 30 years old in September. I don't care about that at all. Like, everyone's saying, what are you going to get for him? What are you going to get for him? Like, there's going to be a team that's desperate for him. That's going to be like, man, we're this close. We need an edge rusher. There's going to be a team that's going to give up a day 2 pick for him. I mean, and probably then some. You never know. It would not surprise me what they get for Haason Reddick. He's a premium that can literally go to another team right now and just be flawless. He could be productive immediately, really. So that's where I'm at with this whole situation going forward, where my head is at when it comes to Haason Reddick, cornerback position. And I feel like Reddick's going to be gone. I feel like the first round it's going to be another trench guy. It's going to be another position. And I think they're going to go pay a cornerback. I think it's going to happen. Whether it's high tier, medium tier, I think they're paying somebody. So we'll see. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes up, follow slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.